Happy Saturday! Hello, my friends. I hope you guys are having a blessed Saturday. So it's 5 p.m. here. I am in um, Central Florida. My guest today is coming to us from Hawaii. So it's like 11 a.m. there today. I mean, right now. All right. So, like I said, I have my friend Lori coming on today. So, I have been friends with Lori for a couple of years now on Facebook, following Lori. And I remember the first time I seen her, I'm sorry. First time I seen her, she was doing, there she goes, light language. And I was amazed that somebody else knew this. I didn't know that's what it was called, light language. It was something that I had naturally done. One day, my mom is a dancer and a dance teacher, and she's still a dancer. So I grew up around dance classes and dances and being in dance class and everything too. Um, and I remember her saying that that was a way of her speaking to God was through her dance. And one day I was just feeling this like nothingness. I didn't know how else to talk to God. It seemed like I was praying and crying and writing, and like I sat and I put on it was a Ganesh Bhajan, and when it came on, it was something that hit my heart, and my hands started moving, and I knew I was speaking, and I can tell the story that was unfolding for me. So I thought I was the only one doing this in my room. Well, you know what I mean? Because I know, like my mom said, her dance was her conversation with God. And so when I seen Lori doing this, I was like, I know that language. Like I felt and knew what she was saying. And I was amazed at like just the rest of how she lives her life. And so I've asked her to come on. In the last 4 or 5 years, I've become aware and familiar with channeling. And Lori also channels. She does medicine. There's so much she does. And so I'm asking her to come on today. All right. So you guys give me a few moments. First try, too. Drum roll. Uh-oh. Okay, it did that last time too. It said guest and answer. Lori, if you're there, if you could say hello in the comments, that'll pop up sometimes, and then I could pull you on. I'm gonna try to see if I could get you on here. No, it disappeared. It did the same thing yesterday with one of my guests. That's okay. You know my motto. We try again. Okay. Let's see.
Yay!
Yay! Oh, look, and it's saying it can't bring you on. Hello! Welcome.
We made it.
We did it. Are you good? Is the lighting good?
Yeah, everything looks good.
Yeah, yours looks good too. Okay. Yes, I finally. I feel like we've talked. We must have in spirit so many times. Usually, when I haven't met someone on camera when they first come on, it's like, and I have to take them in. But I feel very familiar with yours.
Right.
Your energy. Oh,
yeah,
man.
I know. This is so great. It's like we already know each other. So
yeah, I feel it. I feel it. Yesterday, I was saying with my last guest I had on last night, Timothy. I was like, when I started doing this, when I was inspired to move to ask people to come on and share what they're doing, because in sharing our journeys, I realized how much we can learn from each other. I was like, if I get, and I made a list in my mind and on my little book that of people who I wanted, and if I was able to get these people, I knew I was on the right path. And I've had almost all of them, and you were one of them. I was like, yay!
I love that. Thank you so much for inviting me to come on. It's so great to share the power of healing and what's happening with all of us, or a lot of us anyway, right? And it really helps to know that we're not alone through the process. And that's one of the biggest things for me when I first got the download to open up my Facebook page to public and start building a community, that my internal instinct to do it was because I didn't want someone else to feel like they were alone through the process of awakening, because I didn't get the handbook, I didn't have, and so there's a lot of trial and error that comes in, a lot of trusting and acceptance and letting go. So I feel like this is another beautiful platform to be able to do that. So thank you for what you do.
Yeah, thank you. I know I feel like how you said too, just inspiration, kind of like trial and error. For a long time, people was like, you should do this. People in my circle, people who knew me and got to know me on Facebook was like, you should do. And I was like, I was feeling it. Look how beautiful. Oh, and I know you're exact. I remember, okay, I'll go back to that. Hold on. But I remember doing I remember doing it, the vision automatically took me back there. But I remember saying no, it wasn't time yet. Like I didn't feel it was time for it to happen yet. But when it did, the way everything lit up and synchronicity happened and the inspiration, it was like I didn't need to ask anybody, what do you think about this, or permission. I knew this was how to do it and what to do, you know? So I love it when that happens like that. So I, like you were saying, being there for other people, being like in a space where you get other people to come in and be like, figure out what's happening with them. I seen you doing the light language. I don't know if you heard in the introduction, and I never knew that's what it was called. I just knew I was speaking to something bigger than me, and it was sending me a message. So I was like, oh, somebody else knows this too, and now it's everywhere. But you were the first person I seen doing it too. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because after I first started channeling, I hadn't seen anyone doing it yet. And I was watching the show, The OA.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've seen that, but I saw them doing it and I literally started crying.
Yes.
I felt like I was like, I mean, that's kind of a soul connection, even though it was through a television show. I was like, oh my God, there's somebody else out in the world that's like writing scripts for what I'm experiencing. And then little by little, I started seeing more and more people, and just by watching my videos, a lot of people have activated in what they're doing, because that's what we're here. We're here as activators, and so many people. So we're activating these beautiful divine gifts that have been dormant in our DNA for so long, and it's so beautiful that we have the beauty of social media and this technology to be able to connect in this way, because I feel like that's really what's spreading the consciousness more than anything else. So it's been really nice.
I think too, what's so important about this platform too, generally just in social media too, because you know, I know that there can be people can portray stuff that they're not or whatever, but for the most part, for especially people who are tuned in, we can feel an energy. So even if you're following that way for a little while, you'll realize your energy or your spirit tells you no. And what I love about that is that when you do find that tribe that you feel so connected with, it's not something that we feel like we are that we have to do to teach you how to be like this, but by us being what we are learning and being aware, people are attracted to that authentically, like real, like, you know what I mean? So people can see my posts, and I know I've had people say, you're too happy to be true. Like, I don't believe, there's something wrong with you. They've said it to me. You know, like, I don't believe that you're a good person. Maybe you have some sneaky ways. This is later on when we become friends. They're like, I don't believe somebody's always so positive and so forgiving all the time. And I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. Yeah.
That's the divine, baby.
And
that's the divine.
Say, oh, you are, you know, so by being what it is I'm speaking more, I feel like I've been attracting my tribe. And I feel like that's what you're giving people the space to do too in your space, and why people feel so connected and called to you. So, that's okay. Give a few seconds. It happens. Drum roll. Give it like a few seconds. She is in the Big Island. I don't know what part of the island that Lori's on. When she comes on, she'll tell us. That's something I also want to talk about. I've been to that island in 2017, up in the volcano park and in Kona. And when I seen her background just now, it just flashed me back to there. And okay, let's see. Let's say it. It's already a guest on this broadcast. No Facebook. There's no guest. Okay, let's see if I do this. Do this. Oh no, what's happening? Okay. Let me see one more thing. No answer from the
there we are.
There it goes.
Yeah,
I was saying, I don't know how, I can't remember how internet connection was when I was there on the island. My phone worked fine, but my friend's phone didn't work at all. So I don't know if that has anything to do with.
Well, I'm on Maui now. When I was on Big Island, I had a lot of connectivity issues. That's why I wasn't doing a lot of lives. But over here, it's definitely different. But I want to just touch back with you. I hit a button and it knocked me off, so it was me. But one of the things too that I wanted to touch on what you just said is about when we share ourselves, we attract that same magnetism. So it's like, if we want, that's why, like, it literally is about creating change. It's like, if you want to attract better, do better, be better. I mean, even just the thought process, it doesn't even have to require a lot of action. It just takes the consciousness of the human to recognize that that's what we want. And it's like, boom, it automatically starts to shift. And then, like, and I know, and I know you know, that when we go through this awakening, activating process, we literally change our DNA. And that means the people that have been around us this whole time will change. Either they're going to stay with us or they're going to shift out. And a lot of times they come back around later. So it's like, don't worry, hold space, let people go off and do what they do. You do what you do. Because it's all out of love, it's out of light. So if someone gets triggered by what someone is going through, that's not on them. It's the people that aren't on that same spectrum at that time. And I talk to a lot of people. A lot of people ask me about the numbers. Lori, what are all these numbers and codes you're posting? And a lot of people ask me that.
I made a request to the universe on Facebook saying, please send me someone who can explain codes. And then you hadn't been on Facebook for a while, and you popped back up, and I was like, oh. Go ahead.
Yes, I seem to be the code queen. I don't know how this has happened, but back in 2013, I started seeing 333 on the clock. So I've had 8 years of monitoring life as the collective through these number sequences, and as my DNA has been transformed and transforming, so has the way I read the numbers. So I like to tell people, and the reason why this just came up for me is because my little brother, who I actually haven't talked to in years, and we just started communicating recently, and he is on an activated circuit. I'm so excited. And he was like, Lori, what do I do when I see the numbers? And I was like, you don't do anything. The numbers are showing you that you're on the ascension path, and that really is it. So I just wanted to share a little bit about the numbers really quick, because
I want to hit on something you just said too about with the whole activate and everything, the awakening stage too. What I love that you do, there's some people that just clicks for me, and to me, like, being aware of the problem is good, so you recognize it, but then solution based, and for us, solution based is at the core healing, so we can mask it with positivity and happiness for a little while, but eventually you're going to either blow up in fakeness if that's not real. So to get to a real has to be at the core. What I love that you do, and a lot of people that I've talked to lately, is to get to the core of it. So usually some people will come at a perspective from childhood or mental or whatever, but what you, to me, bring out to everybody is that core healing. And even in speaking about your health ways and different medicines that you talk about, even at the cellular base, then at our DNA and our actual blood cells, because those take an alignment with getting us right in living a life that we want to live. It's being in alignment. And so when we're healing, I've been saying this the last week, we're healing from our ancestors, bringing on to whoever's coming forth. Whether you had a child or not, you're putting the healing forth for the people who are coming forth. Now that I look at it this morning, I was thinking our ancestors was also in that place. They were healing from who came before them, and for us to have this space. And so we're creating the space for the other, sets to come. And so I love that. Can you talk about something or tell me, I know you do the healing with the different clients, and what kind of ways do you do healing? Like, what if someone came to you, what are some of the ways you use?
Well, just like you mentioned earlier, it's about getting to the root, right? Like, if you think about the standardized chakra system, which is 7 chakras, what is the base? It's the root. It's the foundation that we stand on. It's the creative flow in which we actually get to discover our inspirations and our passions, the desires that we feel innately, not what someone else has shown us and told us that we are to do. And it gets down on a cellular level. So in my healing, or the modalities that I facilitate, that I share, there are many of them. And so I am a medical intuitive, an intuitive channel. So I get instantaneous drop-in verbal messages about what's going on with someone in their body or in their life, whether it be in this present moment now, or a lot of times there's a lot of prediction of the future. So we talk a lot about what's to come. But really, I bring it back to the moment now, because this is where we really manifest. So, and so I also do mudra energy work. I clear organs and realign kundalini. And so I also do many different modalities of body work too for local clients here on the island. Lots of people visit me here to do work as well. So it's mind, body, soul. And I feel like as a healer, it's important to focus on the body, but it's also important to focus on the mind, because when we work with the DNA, the cellular structure, the psyche automatically gets rewritten. So a lot of times people will say, Lori, I can't get out of my head. I don't know what to do. And I say, focus on your body. Don't worry about your mind. Your mind is going to do what it's going to do, right? Like, focus on the body if you can't get out of it. And then that brings a sense of meditation. It brings a sense of self-worth. It brings, I like to empower people to take care of themselves, right? Like, it's one thing, like, we can do 100 sessions, but if you're not doing the work, we might not get to your fullest potential. And so it's like, there's so many stories that we have that we can dig up about what's going on with us. And it's like, really, I like to just get to the root of right now. It's like, the past is the past, and we can talk about it all day, but let's talk about now and how you're feeling and what you're doing and how we're moving. So it's mind, body, soul. It's to reconnect the consciousness to the body, while also recognizing the moves and the way we use our words and tones and actions. So that's a lot of what I do in sessions for people. And I activate dormant gifts. Like, a lot of people will start channeling, or they'll start doing energy work or speaking light language. It just depends on each person's modality.
I want to say I verify for that. I remember one time you were doing a light activation, and I felt drawn to that one, and I followed with you and was there and participated and received, and I felt so rejuvenated is the best word I could think of at the moment. And so when I had a friend that was saying something to me, or somehow I either posted, but I shared it to her personally, and she was like, Prudence, what is this? Who is this? Like, she identified with it too. She's like, who is she? I was like, follow her, you'll see. And then she also was like, I want to learn more about this, because she resonated with it also, but couldn't put it into words. And here you were being it. And that's what I love. Like, I was just going to say, you give, I say you give all of us the room to be able to have that space to do that, so we can, it's a domino effect, I've been calling it. And those gifts to me are what superhero powers are. So what I've been saying is that we are gathering our spiritual superheroes, and we don't have to live in the same neighborhood and always meet up. We're meeting up. And the reason why we're split up like this is that we can infect our community, our space of where we are, so that more will continue. That when we hold hands, it will be an organ that functions in perfect organization, how it's supposed to, right? I love to call it, I love the concept of the perfect, what is it, the perfect chaos or something like that they say. But I love that. And that's how we will function. The way I believe that, I think I heard you spoke about it one time too, that it was you, and I have another friend that says that we were here to learn by suffering, but we have leveled up and learned that we don't have to expand by suffering anymore. We can focus and experience and expand. I love that. No, we're moving into that, because that suffering crap is bullshit now. Sorry, it's time to finish with that. And so I love that we're giving that space to other people to do that.
Well, that's right, because oftentimes all we need is a reflection. We need a reminder to say, hey, come into the space. Right? You can let go and take off the armor and just breathe and relax, because I feel like oftentimes that's all we really need. We really just need someone that we can just sit and hold space with and just allow people to just like be able to let go, because we do live on a planet where there seems to be duality consciousness, and there is what appears to be a lot of suffering here. And I feel like a lot of times people want to ignore that or turn a blind eye and just like stay in the light and stay in the light. And that's great. But the fact is that we do have this going on here. And so the more accepting we can be of that, then we can actually say, okay, this is where we're at. This is what we're dealing with.
It's such a better dance.
So we can just shed all of this egoic stuff, and we can put this to this into the heart space, because that's why the heart is the center chakra. It's the 0 point of gravity. It's like that is the center vortex of how we actually belong here. But everyone is so caught up in the mind, and it's like they've forgotten they're in a body, and you know, and it's like, but wait, like we are the body, we are in the body experiencing this consciousness. Like I see a lot of people in the spiritual community say, I'm not the body. And it's like, well, if you weren't the body, you would not be able to feel and touch and listen and hear and just all of these beautiful things. So it's like there's so many mental constructs of influence on this planet.
Balance.
Yeah. So it's like pick the influence that you want to be, and you will attract more of that influence. Like it's really amazing. And I understand that emotional struggle goes deep. Like the programming is there. Society tells us what to do in so many ways. That's why we struggle as humans, because we have this innate nature about us, just like animals. Like animals may not be able to use verbal communication, but we have those superhero spidey animal instincts. And when you said that about the superheroes a little bit, my whole body lit up. I got chills all over, because it's true. Like we are the Marvel comics. Like that we are humans.
Power. It is. I'm convinced, and I've been saying this for many people that I've been friends with. Always have this desire to gather with other people to create something for space. Because here's one of the things that I've learned in the last year. Nobody really needs what we're doing. They don't need it, because we're all going to ascend regardless. But the thing is that we love doing what we're doing. And so that's, to me, where our superpower comes in, and where we go, like kind of in the movie Saving, is because it's not because they need us. That's the difference between the movie and what we're doing. We're doing this because there's love and passion and seeing people awaken. We're giving that space by being what we're saying. We want to be able to help you master, because we spend time cultivating whatever gift, whatever you're offering, whatever you say I can help you with, you've cultivated that within yourself. So let me show you how I can do this. And by doing that, I know this, like you said, there is that duality that's meant, I believe, on this planet to be like that, right? You have to understand in order how light works, you have to know what dark is. And instead of trying to run from the dark, if you close your eyes actually in a dark room and give yourself a few moments, you'll see your eyes will adjust. It's not that scary as you think it is.
Yeah.
So now we're realizing that, and holding each other's hands and realizing that there is a better synchronized dance that can take place if you accept the darkness and live in your light and be that light for other people. There's something it kind of jumped out of my mind right now, but what I love is what you're doing and giving space for other people. If they wanted to reach out to you, what kind of clients do you have? Like, why do people reach out to you if they say, hey, I want to work with you? Are you doing that right now, right?
I am, yes. Yeah. I just got all caught up on sessions, and if anybody wants to book a session with me or just connect with me, you can follow me on my Facebook page. My email address is abundanceislife33@gmail.com. That's another way to get in touch with me, and I can send you that, and we can add it to the post as well. And really, I feel like if a lot of people, they connect with me when they're feeling stuck or stagnant, and they need their energy cleared or moved or amplified or whatever. And some people come to me when they just have medical problems, and then some people come to me in their ascension, and they're like, hey, I'm ready to like blast off, like let's change some timelines. And that's what we do. So it's just a matter of each person. And sometimes sessions are all purely body, and sometimes they're all just chakra work and things like that. So every session is different for every person, and every session is different for each person. So it just really depends.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I thought you were just pausing right there, but that is what I wanted to say too. That you said earlier too. It doesn't matter. It depends on the person where they're at, and I feel whatever's pushing to that person more, whether it be something physical, it's gonna trigger something off mental and spiritual. It all connects.
Yes.
And if you go because mentally you're blocked and you go to Lori or whoever it's for assistance, that's going to trigger off your physical because you're going to see how that's in alignment, and which will also trigger off any angle you take it at. It's going to go back to spiritual, but all three brings in alignment. So it's experience here anyways.
Absolutely. And that's what I tell people too. I make sure I let people know, like, hey, this isn't just about the body. Like, your mental, emotional stories are going to shift after this. So I feel like as an energy worker, a body worker, working with the consciousness, it's really important to let people know that when they're going through their awakening process, because I activate consciousness. So that means that the mind is going to go through some spirals, right? We're going to go down the rabbit hole and we're going to do all these things. So I make sure that I counsel people on that, because I know that I've seen some stories of people working with others and then they not be counseled on the consciousness part, and then people like go through all kinds of emotional stuff. And so that's why I like to tell people that it's not just about, ooh, activate me so my chakras are activated and I can feel my body. It's like being mindful of what you ask for, because it really is a real thing. And I didn't have someone activate my consciousness the way that I channel now with other people. This happened to me galactically several years ago. So I didn't have that hand holding process that I now offer the people that I work with, because it's like I already know how the process is in general. It strips away everything we've ever known, said, heard, tasted, felt, right? The consciousness totally gets rewritten. And I know for me, I've been on like the strong conscious train now for about 5 years, and it totally turned my world upside down, inside out. I mean, it's like
me too.
And so it's just so amazing now to see how not only did it happen to me and you, but we now as guides, as we're being guided, we get to guide others through the process. And it's so beautiful. And I'm so grateful that I get the opportunity to be able to facilitate what I do with myself and others, and how I get to see you and other people just shining this light and not afraid of the dark. And we're just going at it. And it's like, you know, I had this thought about like, oh, I'm not going to worry about waking up people or thinking I'm doing this thing. I'm going to focus on myself and just share me. And when I decided to do that,
so powerful.
It's so powerful, because there isn't an agenda. It's like, hey, I am you. You are me. We feel the same things. We may have different stories, but we are no different.
Oh, I'm hearing myself talking. This is amazing.
Yes, we still feel the same emotions. We all can relate that way. And so it's like we have to move past these racial things, these demographic things, like all of these stories that create friction. And it's like, hey, I feel you, I see you, just come on in and give me a big hug. You know, like we just want to like hug everybody, right? I mean, I understand that it's heavy and there's a lot going on out there, but there's so much amazingness. And the thing is that when there's change isn't always fun. It isn't always welcomed. It isn't always easy. And we are going through massive, massive changes. So it's like, hold space, hold space. Like we are going through like one of the most amazing times on this planet. I mean, the mass consciousness and how fast it's been spreading since I've been monitoring it in 2016 has just been so mind-blowing to me to see the vast changes and how quickly we can level each other up when we're really open to receive. Like, I know we have our own processes, but the fact that we can work with each other and facilitate this stuff, like I work with a lot of healers too. We connect with each other and it's like, hey, like, because we're there, we're like, let's level each other up, and that's what we do. So being open to receive is really the biggest part.
It is, and I think that's what it is that I love. I'm seeing too is that we are this. what you just said, how you and I identify with some of our experiences may be different, but our storyline, I always say the plot is the same. So that's why even when you hear astrology or someone channeling or something, it identifies with you, because like I'll take card reading, for example. Someone would read a card. How can 15,000 people have the same storyline? It's not the same storyline. It's the same emotional evoking of
Yes.
experience that we're having with each other. And so when we identify that, we can identify collectively with each other and help inspire, hey, this is what worked for me and this is what worked for me. But more importantly than trying to teach them what works for us is by being what we think is working for us. That's how we're teaching them, right? It's like just
Absolutely.
by being that. Yeah.
So, and the other thing, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Well, I just want to say really quickly is that yes, we're happy, positive people, but we also go through it still. Like that's the thing that I think that can be misconstrued sometimes, often in the conscious world or in the spiritual, realm, is that there's this idea that this place is reached and that it's just like perfect after that. And it's like, no. Like we learn the tools to be a human, and then we're able to pull those tools out and use them in life, because it's like I've reached the place of what I call nirvana in myself. I've self-realized. I recognize myself emotionally. I recognize myself physically. I'm still learning every day what that is, but I've reached that place.
Yes.
So I've gotten to a place of self-awareness, yet being a human doesn't end. Like we still have feelings in the body. We still feel sadness. We are empathetic beings, so we see and feel other people. And so that's why I feel like it's also important when we're talking about the awakening process and activating the DNA and all of that. We are learning the tools of how to be emotionally and physically intelligent beings.
Yeah.
And that means we're still going to get upset. We're still going to feel anger. We're still going to have those things, especially when we care about people and we don't turn our eyes to injustices. And I think that's a big part of being on earth. It's like it's really easy to turn the eye. And sometimes I do it too because I need to introvert.
Yeah.
But then I come back out. I feel like I'm this raging bull for the people inside of me too. I just want to like bulldoze it all down. So I understand that there is a spectrum. And I feel like when we connect with our tribe, and our soul family, our star fleets align energetically, and we're able to really telepathically speak to each other even. I mean, we're really on that level. So I feel like the conscious work we do inside affects the entire collective, because my clairaudience is turned on now, and I hear all kinds of things coming in from all over the place. And it's taught me that the act of detachment. And it isn't always easy. And I'm like, wow, like the planet's really going through it. Like, I feel you, I hear you, like I can feel Mama Earth and I feel the collective consciousness. And so for me, it drives me to be a better human while I'm here. Because if it's like, if I'm hearing and seeing all of this distortion, why would I want to be a part of that? Well, I am a part of it, but I'm here to enhance it, not to continue to feed it.
Yeah.
Right. And I feel like it starts with us individually in our communities, with our family, with our friends, and online. And we keep spreading it out further and further and further. So it's like, yeah, you can have the agenda and the drive to awaken the consciousness all day, and that's wonderful. But it's like, well, what are you doing for yourself? How are you nurturing your family and your community and your mind and your body? And it's amazing how doing that. And we have this term on earth called selfish, which is the most oxymoronic term I've ever heard, because the word doesn't even make sense. Like I've broken down the two parts. So it's like, no, do yourself and watch how everyone around you begins to flourish. It's really amazing.
It's really funny to me because it's like, to me, almost everything they told us was not to do when we were younger is actually what and I'm not blaming them. I'm just saying the energy of whatever was telling that message was so wrong. Because I mean, even down to me, to the Bible. I was talking to someone last night that was coming out of the church. One of the biggest unforgivable sin is to say that you're God. And how ironic is it to realize that oh shit, we are God, you know, but not in the sense that they're thinking that you're, it's like, anyways, it's so funny to me. And just like that selfish thing, it's like, that's one of the things you're taught about. You're so selfish and you only think about yourself, and it's looked down on, like, how could you be so selfish? And when you realize, like, oh, the important to really dissect, you said, the really meaning of that, and really understand, when you, like we just said, you lead by example, not by what you say you can do, but what you do within yourself, what you do with yourself. If you're a peaceful person, and I tell you, look, in order to be more peaceful, I will listen to you because you portray and live and embody a peaceful person. Now, if you're, you know, and you're trying to tell me, I'm not going to learn from you or even really believe anything you have to tell me. So by embodying what you're teaching is what is teaching it.
Yes,
really
absolutely.
Quick too, I wanted to hit on what you said too, just like, because we live this life, it's not always in this like positive, this happy all the time. We're lucky. There are times where I hit the down lows. And I remember the first time I went to a conference, and it was like, so many amazing speakers was there at this conference, and Wayne Dyer was on there, and I'm telling you, my heart, my insides, my everything was bubbling, because I got to see Joe, all the people that I had just became aware of. Actually, that's what helped. And I was just so, I was like, I wonder if they get sad or if they get down, because they look like they never would get depressed to me. And my friend who was with me, she goes, well, I'm sure they do, but their fraction time is probably way shorter than ours, because they practice to keep. And I was like, oh, and I made my mind up. I was like, I'm going to learn how to do that, because I want to stay in that mode. I want to live my life like that.
Yes.
You know?
And that's exactly what you said. It's the time in between. It's the time in between feeling and responding, and then like transmuting it, because that's how it is for me. I catch myself still judging people. I catch my mind, and I'm like, whoa, stop, like, no, like, this is not me, like, yes, like, and so I feel like it's healthy to recognize. And like you say, like, I hold on to things for a very short amount of time. It's even like upset people before. You don't care. I'm like, no, I care. I'm just not still on it like you are. You know, it's like really, really being able to just like being the alchemist, feel, recognize, move on. Right? It's so much easier than hanging on to things.
It's for my physical heart, literally my being, my blood cells, well, I can't hold on to it. It hurts to hold on to it. I have to release it and let it go. One of my quickest way for me will cry will release it. The thoughts will flow through my tears, and I'm done. I'm good. We're good. If you want,
crying is such an amazing way to purge the body. And when I'm doing energy work, like, we can get it to come up. Laughing is another way. And so I tell people, like, don't block your tears. The tears is like literally like God's water to flush the body. And when the tears are held inside and held down, it's pushing all of that down. And that literally causes disease in the body. We have to release that stuff. That's why we have just like this major, like, after crying, and we feel so cleansed, literally.
Clear thoughts, even my thoughts become so clear after. There are times that I and this is when I knew I was doing, okay, so this was beyond me now. I was being held for collectively, because I had no real human reason to feel sad. Everything is good. I mean, I'm grateful for everywhere I was, and I would sit at my desk, and this sadness would hit me, and I would just cry. And even in my crying, I'm like, why am I crying? There's nothing for me to think of. I mean, yes, I've always dealt that, but it's just, and once I was done, I realized, and I heard that this was not just for you. You go through this. This is for the collective also, to release it, because some people don't know how to. They hold back their tears because of whatever story they're told, and their tears don't flow so easily. And one of the things that I believe Source showed me was, that's why you're able to forgive so easily, why you're able to like live in this, people say I live in a fairy tale land or a fantasy land, because I released they were like, you're living in a fantasy land. I was like,
that's what chakra baby's like.
Yeah, and it's because I'm able to release that. I'm able to release that. So I'm so grateful for my gift of crying.
Yeah. I know, it's so good. Before, like, I started, before I recognized, like, because I started channeling, and it wasn't until 6 months into it that I recognized that I could actually, like, do work on other people. I was channeling collective for 6 months, and I would just cry and cry and cry and cry, and opening all these portals and closing portals and just all of this stuff. And also during the awakening, our consciousness is expanding because the vibrations that we're receiving on this planet is elevating our nervous system. So our DNA is literally going through an enhancement. So those, like, cries that just happen, it can be collective in a sense that it's collective feels, but it can also just be the energy of the day, and your body's like purging whatever energy was in there. So it's very healing. Yeah. It's
I
pretty
haven't had anyone else
spectacular.
express it that way yet, but that's exactly what happened. Sometimes I realized, I felt like this was this thing that was coming. It was like, no, sometimes it's just for the day. And you have to check in every day with the energy, because the energy, even if you have the same routine, I talked to this about a friend of mine too, is that even if you wake up doing the same routine every day, the energy is different every day. And you have to check in. That's a meditation for me. As soon as I wake up, well, as close to as soon as I wake up, I realize, for me now that I've gotten older, what works is get my body in motion. So I go work out, walk, or whatever, and then I come back and I do a meditation, so to get my mind focused, and that helps a lot. And some people, it's like, well, what? I don't see your life abundance or what, but you don't understand how I used to respond before, and how I used to think before, and how I used to worry before, and those feelings, like I told you, would be trapped in my body instead of letting them out. And how now I find, if I don't have it, how I have a peace of mind with knowing that it's coming. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So it's worth it to me to take that time and get lined up in the morning.
Yeah.
I feel that we could continue talking so, like, forever. I love to keep it within a certain time frame, because I think, but we have people engaging with us, and Jesse's with us. Hey, Jesse, I'm trying to get Jesse on too. We have a couple of people. If anybody has any questions that they want to ask Laura about what she does, this would be a good time. I'm going to see if I see any questions here. Not yet. I see a lot of love and hearts going up, but I don't see any questions here yet. But okay, so if people wanted to reach out to you, like you said, we're going to put your links on here. I know you have YouTube, Instagram. They're going to click on your name. That was the other thing. I was like, I know you are, I believe all of us have the gifts. And what it is on my page that I love to tell people, I remember when I was hearing this term coach, and people were saying, well, that's what you're doing, you're coaching, but I did not resonate with the term coach. And so I went into meditation, and I asked Source to, what is my title? What's people's ask me, what do you do? And I don't know what to tell them. Like, what do I tell people? And Source said, you are an encourager, you're a reminder, because within each one of us, every gift you see someone else do, you have that within yourself too. But you need reminding of it to activate that again. And so to me, we are all reminding. I know that's a quote that's on a lot of memes, that we're all holding each other's hand walking home. But we are really all reminding each other how to wake up, and just the different ways of waking up as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I wanted people to know that if they wanted to reach out to you, they had any questions about what activation is, I encourage you to go on her YouTube page and look at some of the videos of her activation codes and stuff that's going on in there.
Yeah, I like to do it to music sometimes for entertainment, like the videos too. Videos are a little bit different than the sessions, but still the same.
Yeah, just to get a feel of what that feels like to be activated and light codes. And there was something else too that you said on there I wanted to talk about. I know you do medicine, and so there are a lot of holistic healings and stuff like that, medicines that you use, correct?
Oh yeah, I'm dialed in. I use Rife technology. I have a Spooky Tube Rife machine and other healing tools, and I'm really into herbs and natural medicines, and all, like, just getting back to what nature provides us, and these sound frequency tools that we have that can cure all kinds of things that we're told are not curable. And so I'm really dialed in with the energy of the body and focusing on the mind, on the intention of healing. And, like, real quick before we get off, I'd like to share one story with you. I've been working with a guy in India. Last October, I had a friend from Facebook. He'd been following me, or we've been connected on there for years now. And he's active in the comments, never really messaged me much, but he messaged me one day and said, Lori, I need some healing. And I was like, well, what you got going on? Sure, no problem, you know. And he told me that he was paralyzed in bed for 4 years and was not able to walk. And I was floored because I had no idea, right? We just never know what someone else has going on in their life. Like we never know. And so I did 2 sessions with him, and he's riding a bicycle now.
Oh,
so yeah. So it's like when you witness the power of quantum physics and being able to exchange energy anywhere with anyone in the world, you know that your human suit is powerful. And we're able to do that because we're in this transistor radio. Like this is an antenna system. And we all have the opportunity to do that. And that's why I like to tell people, I like to instruct people on how to use their own hands to do what I do, because they have the power to do it too. So it's like, you know, I've seen enough. I don't need anyone to convince me. I know what we're capable of, and I know that there's so much more than that. So yeah, thank you so much for providing this space and letting all of us get on and connect and share with you and your beautiful audience and your group and everything that you do. And just keep spreading the love. That's what it's about. It's like even in the face of adversity and separation, love will always prevail to a higher frequency. Always.
Always. Always. Thank you so much. You don't know how much you fill my heart too for taking time. Before you go, and like we said, we're going to leave all her links on here, and you can click on her name on the top. Can you flip your camera? Let's see outside your door again.
Yes, let me show you what I'm looking at here.
Okay, show us. Hawaii. I was in Hawaii. I went to the volcanoes, and I put down some rocks, and I was like, oh, Hawaiian gods, if it's meant to me for me to be here, please provide a way. And they said,
yes. Yes, well, when we're called home, we say here on the islands that you don't go to the islands call you home.
Yeah.
And they definitely called me home, and that's Lanai over there. Yeah, super amazing.
I love it. I love everything about the island. Thank you so much for sharing that with us too. I love you, my friend. I look forward to
I love you.
This superpower hero team that we got going on. And if you ever have anything else that you want to talk about, please reach out to me. I'd love to have you on again. I feel like we could continue going on and hit a lot
of course.
more aspects. And if I ever come into Hawaii, I'm calling you so we can meet
up. Definitely. Thank you so much.
Years ago, you talked about that. You was like, I want to get together, like do like I think you wanted to go into like a van or something. You had said that you wanted to travel around and meet up with everybody.
I did that. Like that. I did that several years ago, and I've been talking about doing it again.
Even do it too.
Yes. Yeah, I've been talking about it. Yeah, and doing and possibly setting up some retreats also, not just here on island, but on the mainland as well. So I'll definitely keep you posted.
I love it. Please do. I love you. Have a blessed rest of your week.
I love you too.
Okay? We'll talk
Much aloha, everyone.
Aloha. Oh my goodness. Oh, every single time I always get so happy. I always feel like this is it. This is what part of what you're called to, because I know it's always expanding and it will change as time continue on. I want to share something really quick with you guys too, that as we're hanging up with Lori, that I remembered when I was younger, the first time I had an experience to me that was kind of like supernatural. I was 17 years old. I was doing a living job taking care of 2 little boys, and at that time I smoked cigarettes. I had went into Job Corps. And so I was transitioning from leaving that job into going into Job Corps. And at Job Corps, I had met some friends who I was automatically drawn to, who was going to church. And when I went to church with them, of course, after a couple of times, they said, you need to stop smoking in order for God to speak to you. And so I had this really bad, guilty association with smoking. And so I was asking God to help me stop smoking. I was at this house when I was watching the 2 kids, and I went to sleep that night. And I was going to go to sleep, and I started praying and asking God to help take away this from me. And I felt 2 entities on the side of me, and a hand went over my body and said, this is my child. No matter what happens, this is my child. And I started speaking in 7 different languages. I don't know 7 different languages. I know English, and that's it. And I know some words of other languages. I know a lot of words in Hindi, but not to speak a full sentence. And so I was speaking 7 different languages. And when I was done, what happened to me was I wanted a cigarette. And so I went outside and I had a cigarette. And as I came back in, my spirit said, take a pen and paper and write down everything that just happened to you. And my spirit guided me to write, Jesus won all his victories with love. Everything he did, every battle that he faced, the only time he ever got mad in the Bible that explains this is when he destroyed the damn temple because they were selling stuff, in there, and there was a money thing for them. But other than that, everything he did was he won it by love, and said, go and tell everybody this, which is love. It's to love yourself, love thy neighbor, love everybody around you. But really important to start that, I've learned, is to learn to love yourself. And not just your flesh. Like my grandma Lisa said, when you love yourself, you'll find love. And I couldn't understand it for years. I kept looking in the mirror. Some days I'd be like, oh, my eyes are cute. Oh, speaking of right now. And then some days it's like, oh my God, what am I looking at? And then so I was going back and forth of this loving yourself thing. And one day it hit me. I was looking into the bathroom and I looked and I said, oh my goodness, I love that type of person I am. I love the person I forgive, how I forgive. I love how, and I realized the qualities. And more importantly, I was like, I love whatever the concept of God is. And I was learning that I am also the extension of God. And so if I love God, oh shit, I love myself. And I got it on a different level. It hit me so differently what loving yourself was. It's not necessarily always loving the size that you're in, the color, the hair, or whatever, but it's to love the essence of who you are. That's my quick reminder to you today. Go forth and show love. Love yourself first and love the people around you. You guys have a safe weekend. I love you, and I'll see you soon.